Good evening.
Good evening.
We'd like to call to order the Trotwood-Madison City School District regular meeting, August 15, 2019, here in our board offices to order. Mrs. Allen, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarce?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes, the meeting has been called to order. Please join us for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I now need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and we have a second. Are there any questions or changes or amendments? I have one in front of me, and it will be amendment to item 12. And we're going to have this item 12 executive session, and we'll make this item B, to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining session with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment per ORC 121.22 G4. Any others? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mr. Scarce?
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes, the agenda has been adopted. Any community comments, Ms. Allen?
Yes. I have one from a Miss Pamela Thomas.
I'm not sure if you guys remember, I was here several months ago, and I voiced my concerns regarding the middle school. And things did not change, although I did come seeking help. The then superintendent did reach out to me, and I want to say his name is, I think his first name is Gregory. He's a director. I want to say Allen, but I'm not sure. Okay, and the two of us met to discuss some of my concerns. But as far as the building principal, the day of the meeting, the morning of the meeting, I received a call at 7:38 p.m. regarding an 11 o'clock meeting that was going to be canceled with the principal, the building principal, and Mrs. Minor. And the secretary stated that Mrs. Minor is the person who canceled that meeting. And I reached back out to Ms. Minor, still concerned about what was going on, because I feel the principal is a bully. Anytime, and this is from my perspective, I know you have a different perspective, Ms. Bozeman, because you shared that the last time, that when you go to a student, because I spoke with you about this retaliation. I know that was going to be the next thing. Well, here's what he did. He goes in the classroom, sits right next to the student. That's intimidation. Yes, he did that on multiple occasions. And he was so proud of it, he told me himself. Yes, he did. So I think that's a problem. I don't know what's going on, but here's the thing. If we want more businesses to come in, if we want growth for Trotwood, the business, the way the school board is doing business, it needs to change. Because if you're not concerned with what's going on in the buildings, no matter who's coming to you with it, that shouldn't be the issue. The issue should be what I'm saying. And I'm going to give you two examples of what I seen when I was in there. In the classroom, a teacher had the lowercase I in the place of the personal pronoun I. Okay, this is a learning environment. You shouldn't have that in your classroom hanging anywhere. And a teacher saying, "Do you feel me?" What? No, that's unacceptable. And as I told and said before, I expect accountability from you guys as well as myself as a parent.
Ms. Thomas.
Okay. All right. And hopefully there'll be some changes. That's what I'm hoping for.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. We appreciate your comments. Mr. Howard, I know that you weren't here the first time that Ms. Thomas approached the board, and she has concerns with the middle school and some of the things that have happened with her child. Grandson, is that correct? I know. Yes, grandson. We basically made sure that she go through the proper channels, and it was discussed, and it sounds like meetings were had.
No,
Okay.
only with the superintendent, and I think his name is Frager, and I think it's his last name, or his last name is Frager, I'm not sure. But at any rate, the problem solved, because I moved my children out of the district.
Yeah. But again, we still want to make sure that we, we'll follow up and make sure.
Okay, I heard it at the board
Yeah.
meeting, because I'm going to say it loud,
Miss-
say it proud,
yeah.
about what happened.
Was this regard to
This-
something that happened last year?
It was something last year. And, the situation is that building administrator is no longer in the middle school. And Mr. Gregory, I believe he's no longer with the district.
Right.
So, again, those two individuals are not here for you to follow up with. But
Right.
please, we still want to address each and every concern to make sure that it's not something that is a root in the middle school, a root cause, all right? Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Okay. Next up, we have presentations. First presentation is property tax relief for damaged or destroyed properties. Mr. Carl Key.
Good evening, members of the board,
Good evening.
Treasurer Allen, Mr. Howard. Congratulations, Mr. Howard. I'm happy to be here this evening, and thank you for allowing me just a few minutes to talk about the program that we have available for those victims of the Memorial Day tornadoes. As you know, the Memorial Day tornadoes cut a very devastating path of destruction through several communities, starting in Perry Township and moving its way all the way over to Riverside, about 10 different communities, Trotwood being right in the center of that. My office, since Memorial Day, has been very actively engaged in attempting to identify properties that have been damaged by the storms and to determine some degree of the damage, the severity of the damage in those properties. So far, to date, we've identified more than 4,400 properties in total that were damaged by the storms. The communities that were hardest hit were, first of all, Harrison Township, and then Trotwood, and then Dayton. About 80% of that damage was in those three communities, as you well know. And so moving forward, we know that this is going to have a long-term impact on all of those communities as we try to recover. But one of the things that we want to make sure is that the property owners who have been impacted is that they are treated fairly, and that they don't pay a tax bill for property that's been severely damaged or completely destroyed. And so this program is available for property owners. It's called the Property Value Deduction for Damaged Properties. We're trying to get the word out to these individuals that they need to apply for this program. We can't just lower their value just because we've seen the damage. They do have to apply for it. We approached the Department of Taxation in Ohio and asked them if we could waive that requirement, and they told us no. The forms have to be notarized. We asked if we could waive that requirement, and they told us no. So it's important that people who have been impacted, that they file this. What it allows us to do then is to lower the value of their property based upon the severity of the damage, and then that will lower their tax bill come January of next year. Of course, that's going to have an impact on our communities in terms of revenues, and they're going to have a long-term effect, and we realize that. It's too early. As I said, right now we've identified these properties, and we have appraisers that are in the field now taking a look at those properties to try to make a determination of the severity of that damage and the impact of that in terms of value. But again, the important thing now, we want to try to get the word out to as many people as possible that this program is available to them. It's the right thing to do. But they do need to apply. We're asking that they apply by the end of August, when that gives us time to do the field work that we have to do and to process those applications and get it done in time for the tax cycle starting in January. We've been out in the community quite a bit. In different places, we're trying to make it as convenient as possible for people. So I know we're going to be at different branches of the Dayton Metro Library on certain dates where people can come to us, and we'll have people there available. We are bringing notaries with us so we can notarize them on the spot. I know we spent some time out at the Church of Latter-day Saints early on when they had the Family Assistance Center there. We were there, and my wife, who's a notary, actually spent a Saturday afternoon with me over there notarizing forms. So we're trying to do what we can to reach people, but we know it's difficult to reach some of the people. And so anything that you can do to help us along those lines, we'd appreciate it. And as time goes on, as we get later in the year, we'll have more information available to you as what the impact will be in terms of the school district and revenues and those types of things in the community. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I think this is good. One way that we may be able to help you is maybe we can put this on our website so that our citizens, our families know that there is a relief program. And that's just really just raising awareness.
Yes.
And share your message.
Thank you. We have graphics available that we could send you that you could post on your website. That would be helpful. And again, we do have you've got the brochures. We have brochures that we could leave here. That's okay to make that available to people as well.
Do you know about how many applicants you've had from the Trotwood area?
I can't tell you that. We've had about more than 500 applicants so far.
Okay.
We do know that we've identified about 1,200 properties in Trotwood that we believe had some damage. We've categorized them from major, moderate, and minor. So a lot of those are minor damage, but there's a good amount of those are major and moderate, and those are the ones we feel like need to apply for this program. And so Harrison Township had the most. They had about 1,800 properties, which is about 15% of the properties in Harrison Township. Trotwood then had about 1,100, maybe 1,200 properties damaged, which is about 8% of the properties in Trotwood. So those are the two hardest hit communities, no doubt about it.
Once the value is lowered for those individuals that would be approved, when is the next time their property is reassessed?
Well, we're in the middle of a revaluation process now. We're scheduled to do a revaluation in 2020. So we're about halfway through that process. In fact, we had done a lot of the work that it's needed to do for that 2020 reval. We had already done, and now in the areas of the county that's been impacted, we have to go back and redo. And so that's what we're in the process of doing. But the property owners whose property has been severely damaged or destroyed, their value won't be increased until they make repairs or rebuild. At that time, that would be considered new construction by us, and we would do a new assessment of the value of the property at that time. So it depends on when they would actually do the repair work. But if they get a deduction from this, that will stay in place until they do some type of repair to the property.
Okay, but you won't necessarily lower the value on properties, on homes whose owners don't apply?
We can't mid-cycle.
Okay.
During the 2020 reval, we will be able to do that, and we will do that based upon what we see and what's happened in the community. But mid-cycle, they have to apply.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you very
so
much. I
for
appreciate the time.
information.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Next presentation, Epilepsy Foundation, Dr. Crystal Hagans.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, I'm Dr. Crystal Hagans. I'm from the Epilepsy Foundation, Ohio, and I'm coming today because we have some school personnel programs and some school with the students programs that we want to present to the Trotwood area. We are all over Ohio, starting with the Dayton area. We go to Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Canton, all over Ohio. This is just recently new, so they've been in the greater Dayton region for a while, but Ohio is new. And one of the things as the education manager that I am is my responsibility is to try to get into some of the schools and do school personnel training. Let me ask a question. If someone was to have a seizure today, here or in the school system, would you know what to do? Yes, no, maybe?
I would not.
Yes.
I wouldn't know personally.
And there's some, would you call the paramedics right away?
Absolutely.
Absolutely?
Absolutely.
No.
No?
Turn them on their side, make sure their
No.
tongue is not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is why we're here. Seizures usually last between 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Anything beyond that, at 5 minutes is when you would call a paramedic. Anything between 30 seconds to 2 minutes up to 5 minutes, staff can be trained to take care of without calling. Now, if it's a new student or someone who is not already aware that you have epilepsy or seizure, yes, you would call a paramedic. But if it's already aware, then you wouldn't have to. And so that's why we're here. We're here to help staff, personnel understand what seizures are, what epilepsy is, and so that they can be trained and equipped to help the students in their classroom. Also, what we do as well with the classroom, when we go into some of the health classes or that we have from kindergarten to 12th grade, we do classes for them so they can also identify epilepsy or seizure disorders within their friends and their cohorts and also be a part of it so that the bullying stops with understanding. There's over 20 types of seizures. Most of the time we're looking at the grand mal seizures where the student is convulsing, but there are also types of seizures where they're kind of absent. They're just staring off into space, or they may be murmuring to themselves, or they just might be doing this. And a lot of times we say it's ADHD and not realizing that it may be a seizure. And so we're here to help recognize that. And that's pretty much the short end of it. Any questions?
So you provide training to school staff? Are you in other school districts?
We're just now starting as far as, this is my 6th week here, so we do Beaver Creek, we've done Bellhaven, we've done school personnel staff. Yesterday I was supposed to go to Bradford, Ohio to do training. I'm going to Clark County on Monday. So we're all over and we're doing the school personnel, and also in Fairborn I'm going to the classes. A health teacher has asked me to come and do all 6 of his classes. So we're doing a little bit of both on both ends. We also are equipped to do EMT, first responders, which is really, really needed, and also school nurse personnel training.
So it isn't specified just for, maybe special ed teachers or, okay.
No, because although there are other delays with people who have seizure disorders or epilepsy, that's not always the truth. And so you may also have a student who just has a seizure one day. And it could, they're not developmentally delayed or special ed or anything like that. So we don't want to just put it into a box and say all special ed teachers need to have it. All teachers, anybody who is even for staff, if you have a staff member who has epilepsy or the training comes in handy.
What does the training look like? Is it an hour long, couple hours? Is it
The training can be about however long it needs to be. So we have an hour-long training, but we also have where we can teach you how to and show you how to use the in-school medicine. So that takes just about 15 minutes longer than normal. I've had to do a 30-minute training because that's all the time I had. So you just kind of hit some of the highlight points.
What's the cost of the training?
It's free. We are a nonprofit organization, so we're free.
So what would our district need to do? Just reach out to you?
Just reach out to me and set up a time. For instance, The one that I was supposed to do yesterday was one of their professional development times. I'm going to the Dayton Public Schools professional development in February. So they're using some of their professional development time to do the training. And if you do it as a training as a school personnel, teachers can get CEU credits. So.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. And I have
Appreciate the
more
information.
forms or anybody wants to, cards and
Okay,
things like that.
yeah, we'll give those to Ms. Allen, that'll be great. And, thank you. Mr. Howard, maybe that's something that we can follow up on?
Yeah,
Absolutely. There.
Thank you.
Very informative. Next item? Next item, item 4. It's our consent agenda, and action is requested on each item. Item A, approval of meeting minutes from July 11th, 2019, July 18, 2019, July 22nd, July 23rd, and July 25th, 2019. Item B, ORC 5705.41, purchase order certification for the then and now FY19. Item C, acceptance of donations as presented. And item D, approval of the JROTC Student Activity Purpose Statement and Budget 2019-2020. I need a motion.
I'll move.
A second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Scares.
Yes.
Mr. Andrews.
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman.
Yes.
And Ms. Moore.
Yes. Motion passes. Item 5, board report. Item A, resolution to approve and amend the treasurer's contract of August 1st, 2017 through July 31st of 2020. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mr. Scares.
Yes.
Mr. Andrews.
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman.
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes.
And Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. Next item up, treasurer's report.
Okay. Okay.
And those are the July financial reports.
I don't see the first one. Yeah, I don't see the bank reconciliation. Okay, I'll start with the, SM2, which is the annual spending plan for July 2019, the revenues and expenditures. You can see the monthly actual and the fiscal year-to-date actuals for your revenues and your expenditures. You can see your ending cash balance is $30,268,819, and you can see there was $5.1 million in open encumbrances through July. The next report is checks over $1,000. And we did have a Finance Committee report this evening, and there were a couple questions from the Finance Committee members that I will have to get back with them on. And one of them was, there was a check in the amount of $7,980, and it was to EMS space LINQ, Inc. I was not able to, I didn't have time to go and see what that was, but I will get back to the board in terms of that one. There also was a question on what is really good stuff, and the amount was $4,196. I do know that that's like a PBIS incentive that the schools order their incentive awards from, but I was going to let the board know about that. If you guys would oblige me, can we come back? I need to go get because I don't see, do you see the financial reconciliation? You see that?
Yeah.
I don't see it.
It's here.
Financial reconciliation.
It's the second page.
Yeah. It's not on yours?
No, so I'm just going
Here.
to, I'll look over my shoulder. Okay, thank you. Okay, the cash reconciliation for the month of July, the PNC general account, $1.5 million in PNC. Investment balances is $32.8 million. There were some outstanding checks and adjustments totaling $779,766.97. That adjusted the bank balance to $33,670,836.65. That does match exactly to the financial system financial system. Therefore, the variance bank to book is 0. Thank you.
Need a motion to accept Treasurer's Report, item A, as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mrs. Bozeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Mr. Scarce?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes, motion passes. Next up, item 7, Superintendent's Report.
Item 7A is a employee request for children to attend Trotwood-Madison City Schools, as denoted by the memo from Mrs. Martin that is attached. That is the 4 children of assistant principal and a high school teacher.
Okay. Need a motion for Superintendent item A as presented.
I'll move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarce?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes, motion passes. Next item, personnel agenda.
Item A, Superintendent's Item A. A1 is a recommendation for approval of the following certified resignation. A2, recommendation for a reduction in force. A3, recommendation for approval of the following administrative contract. A4, recommendation for approval of the following limited contracts. A5, recommendation for approval of the following certified staff to be used on an as-needed basis. A6, recommendation for approval of the following supplemental contracts, all for the 19-20 school year. That's agenda item A. Agenda item B, B1, recommendation for approval of the following resignations, classified. B2, recommendations for the approval of the following classified employment. B3, recommendation for the approval of the following disability retirement. B4, recommendation for approval of the following staff to be used on an as-needed basis. And that is the list of the student activity workers or the activity staff. That's that long list. And that concludes the personnel agenda.
Thank you. I need a motion on Superintendent item B as presented.
I'll move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Mr. Scarce?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes, motion passes. Next up are Item 8, discussion items, student enrollment. Mr. Howard?
Thank you. If the board would make reference to the red folder that I have passed out to each one of you, I have summarized all of the discussion items with information to date. Item A, student enrollment, I've given a reflection, and I've also included some disaggregated data that kind of outlines where we are. If you would pull the first memo or packet per se that has an A at the top, what this is a summary of to date, as of Wednesday, actually not to date, I'm sorry, as of Wednesday, our total student enrollment minus our process of no-shows and other current or pending withdrawals or registrations. So if you look at the first page of the form, you will see that our current enrollment numbers are at 2,703 students, which is very encouraging to us with regards to the concern of possibly losing students to displacement. The third page of that packet gives you about a 10-year summary of where we are as far as enrollment is concerned. And if you look at 2018, 2019, we finished the year at 2663, and currently we are at 2703. Now again, that number may change once we start making our way through the no-show process, making our way through registrations that are pending, withdrawals that are pending. But as we look at that number, we feel pretty good that we will not lose many students, or have not lost many students to the storm. Page 2A is a summary of newly enrolled students, withdrawn students, and students that have chosen to go elsewhere based upon a variety of reasons. The first column gives you a summary of total students new to the district, as well as open enrollment students. There's a total of 405. Now, your preschool and your kindergarten count, you would subtract those because those may have been our students before. Excuse me, those are new students to the district. There is also a number of kindergartners that we've already had that have enrolled, that have rolled up. So that 109 is not the actual number of kindergartners. Those are the number of new kindergartners to the district. The newly enrolled students 1 through 12, those are all new students to the district. And the newly enrolled students under open enrollment, those are new students outside of the district. And the returning under open enrollment column, those 8 students are students that were our students, Trotwood students prior to this year, left or moved the district but came back under the open enrollment provision. So if you look at that number, there's a total of 405, which is not bad when you consider some of the circumstances. What we would do is we would put that 202, that 36, and that 8, and we would plus or minus it with this 146 of withdrawn students, and that would give you a realer number of what type of student influx we've had. Withdrawn students are our community school, private school, withdrawn out of state. We believe that 18 number is probably a hard number as far as how many students we lost due to displacement that actually went out of state. We usually don't have that many students we lose to out of state, so we're assuming, and we're going to do a little more digging to just to confirm that. And then the following numbers are the following information is as follows. So a total of 146 withdrawals. And total elsewhere, these are a variety of different other options that folks have, and we have yet to get the number of community school students yet. That number is still in process, as some community schools have not started yet. Some community schools have not finished their registration. So once we get that number, we will include that as well. But as of right now, from Wednesday, this is Wednesday's data, and I believe this 2703 will go up and possibly come down. Well, not possibly, it will come down once we go through our no-show process. But we're guesstimating right between 2,650 and 2,600 students that we have in the district at this point. So that's a good thing.
Thank you for this report.
No problem.
Yes. You eliminated a lot of questions.
That's what I try to do. Are there any other questions?
Just one.
Sure.
So, anytime I see withdrawn students, I see opportunity to get those students back. Do we have anything or anyone that works as a retention officer of sorts, whose sole responsibility is to make sure, whether they're leaving to go to community schools or private schools, that we understand what the challenges were, why they're leaving, and how we can possibly get them to stay in the district? Or do we just say, oh, they're gone, and...
Not in that capacity right now, but I do have a plan for that.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Would you like for me to move down? Or?
Yes, would you
Okay.
please, B, district staffing?
Ms. Martin is going to speak to district staff.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are very, very close to being fully staffed for the school year. We completed interviews this week for the coordinator of student services position, as well as 2 nursing positions that we currently have open. We have 1 certified opening still as an intervention specialist at the high school that I think we are very close to filling as of late today. And we have an open paraprofessional position at the ELC due to a late resignation. And those are the only current openings. Mr. Howard and I talked today. We want to look at the count starting next week of the actual live body students in each classroom to ensure that across the board we have adequate staffing in place. I did want to publicly acknowledge Tracy Mallory, who she had a late resignation. She was in with me last Saturday completing interviews, finalizing those interviews so that she could start Monday with a full staff. She helped that teacher set up the classroom. Her teachers rallied together to have the classroom set up for that individual. So thank you to Mrs. Mallory and the Westbrook staff. And that is all I had. Are there any questions about staffing?
I would like to also say thank you to Ms. Mallory for keeping control of my children. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, Ms. Martin, we appreciate you.
Team effort back here. Thank you so much.
Okay, always. Item C, Five Rivers Health Center, Mr. Howard?
Yes, in my discussion update, I did outline where we were in the process with Five Rivers. There was a pre-bid walkthrough meeting held this Monday with plans and permits provided to general contractors. Thursday, today, there was a final walkthrough that was held with general contractors interested in bidding on the project. Bid packages will be solicited Friday afternoon, and again, that is not us, that is Five Rivers doing all of this. This is just information with regards to the process. Anticipated start dates for construction are mid-September to October, with the intent to have the construction complete before winter. We should get some hard start dates within the next couple weeks once they hire a general contractor. Wrong one.
Yeah.
Right.
Go right ahead, and you can roll into the mental health.
Mental health, we are currently in the process of reaching out to mental health providers. Ms. Martin and I are going to start that, probably Ms. Martin, myself, and Ms. Minor, going to start that process on Monday. And our goal is to vet those providers. One of the things that did come up, speaking with the building principals, is they were really excited about the possibility of having mental health back in their buildings. So we have to really sit down and have that discussion about what that looks like and how we're going to move forward with that. But at the same time, we do have personnel in place, our social workers, that are managing the initial caseloads and identifying what type of services students need at this point. Those are our district-hired social workers. And then once we move through this process, which will start next week, then we will have a little more formal process of how mental health is serviced in the district.
What does that process look like in terms of seeking out mental health providers?
Well, Mr. Scarce, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the process. We're going to get on the phone and we are going to call. I think there are several that we've worked with before, and there are several out there that we have not worked with, and we're going to call them and try to get them in here and possibly hear some proposals and hear some ideas of how they can help service our children. Okay. And then ultimately, the team is going to have to decide, not the group, the team is going to have to decide, along with the principals, what we feel is our best route, and then we would bring a recommendation for a contract to the board.
Yeah, I know that we've had conversations, and there are a laundry list of organizations out there.
Quite a few.
Yes. Do we have any recommendations maybe from other districts that are using particular or specific providers that we could follow up with and see how that's working? I mean, I know that school started already. This is what, day 3, day 4?
Day 4.
And I know while the social workers are holding it down this first week, my guess is that we would want to have something in place in a reasonable amount of time. So didn't know if that was something that you had maybe thought through, contacting some other districts, looking at what is available.
Yes.
And even the ESC, getting information from them based on, because they've worked with everyone.
Right. We definitely have that in our, I have it in my process. It hasn't been shared yet because we're going to sit down and kind of work through it next week. But yes, we definitely will make sure we make an outreach to other folks to see what they're doing and see what has worked for them.
Okay. Next up, computer went dead. Is it the student transportation?
Yes.
All right.
If you make reference to document E in your folder, this is a summary of where we are with transportation of displaced students. Currently, there are a total of 88 applications for displaced students via the McKinney-Vento legislation that have requested transportation. Some of those submitted as recently as this evening. They are still coming in. The transportation team is working to diligently route the students. It has not been easy. I'm not going to sit here and say that this has been easy. It's probably been one of the toughest things that my transportation department has had to deal with. But currently, as of today, we have routed 49 of those 88 displaced students. 26 of them are on 2 school buses. 23 of them have been routed on 4 van routes. I denoted in my information, we only ran 2 van routes last year. This year we are running 4. And then 1 student is being provided a monthly token for RTA. So we're transporting 49 and we're paying for 1. So we're taking care of 50 kids right now that we're bringing into the district and taking back out. Just some additional information. 4 vans are traveling approximately 350 miles per day, and 2 buses that are traveling an additional 70 miles on top of some of their other route log time. One thing from an operational standpoint is we are going to have to start monitoring fuel usage because it's going to go up, especially the use of regular, which is what we use in the van, versus diesel, what we use in our buses. But as you can see, 350 miles per day is that's not normal, but it is something that we have committed to doing, and we are continuing to work through this process. Our hope is to get everybody who turns their McKinney-Vento form in. The process now is the form goes to the school building verifies and fills it out, goes to Ella signs off on it, comes to transportation, and then our hope is once we get the form in transportation, we route those students within 48 hours.
What's the furthest that we have to go now for transportation?
Right now, I believe Miamisburg, but we are actively trying to work with Miamisburg and these are the type of deals that we're making, and it's good because it's all in the benefit of children. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get Miamisburg to work with us to put that student on a CTC bus that comes into the city, and then we'll manage to get them either back or put them back on the CTC bus to go to Miamisburg. So that's something that we're trying to do at this point. But we also go to Lebanon as well. But those aren't displaced kids. We've taken kids to Columbus, we've taken kids to Cincinnati. So, on any given moment, we can get an order that says we need to take this kid, here. Last year we went to Columbus twice a week to pick up a student that attended the School of the Deaf in Columbus. Any questions on that?
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's go to item F, please, uniform donation distribution.
Ms. Jordan Isaacs will speak to that.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Howard, Ms. Allen. Tomorrow morning, the crayons to classroom distribution will take place at Westbrook Village. Laura Rappock has worked with us to ensure that all of the book bags have been delivered to the buildings. The media event, along with our community stakeholders such as Omega CDC, Crayons to Classroom, I believe some of the county commissioners and other folks connected to those donations, those efforts, will be present tomorrow morning. I did send an auto dialer message to everyone. I hope that you all received that call as well. You are not a part of our...
I didn't get it. Did you guys get the auto dial?
I did.
Okay.
You're a parent. I'm a parent, so that's probably why.
Yeah,
Well, I get one.
but
You did.
I didn't get it. You did?
Okay,
My wife
well
may have
then,
gotten it, I don't know.
I will work then with technology to ensure that your numbers are a part of that information. But again, tomorrow morning, we're asking that, and Laura Rappock, by the way, did the media release, ensuring that everyone would arrive between 8:30 and 8:45 tomorrow morning. I'm also aware that the 700 units of uniforms that were collected by Bill's Donuts will also be partially distributed tomorrow and then dispersed to the buildings to support further efforts. Monies are still being collected. I went over to Friendship Village today and had lunch with the residents there. They have also written a check for us. And part of the report that you may have does include the financial contributions to date.
That would be F. I'm sorry.
Okay.
F.
And I'm still receiving text messages about checks in the mail. So at some point, Mr. Howard and the team, including, of course, Ms. Allen, will determine how we will disperse those funds, what will be our process, and I'd like it to be something that we can replicate. Ms. Moore, I did speak with you mentioning to you that I'd like to do a reception because a volunteer recognition or a donation recognition would render us spending the night at the board meeting. So I'm thinking that we need to do some type of reception, and whereas we can continue to receive pledges for donations so that we can sustain this effort for the 1920 school year.
Absolutely. I mean, I know for a fact the donations are just really, we were here last week in the building and there was an alumni class, I think, of 67?
65.
That came in and had a check. And
$900.
I had a gentleman from L.A., wasn't a Trotwood graduate, but lived in Trotwood, felt very connected with Trotwood, and want to give a significant amount to Trotwood.
I spoke with him. I do have pledges for both the middle school and high school en route.
And I understand there's maybe another class reunion that's coming out real soon, and they may be open to helping out as well. So
is it possible, because we still have several hundred brand-new red shirts and probably about $2,300 worth of Walmart gift cards that we were not able to distribute at our bonfire. Do you want those?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I spoke with Elizabeth Ball, who's connected to Reverend Vanessa Ward and the Omega CDC, and we have talked extensively about how we can do the next round of distributions in September, and in particular at our parent-teacher conferences in October. And the reason we kind of picked October is because kids grow kind of like in increments, and we're thinking that at that time it may be time for some additional support. And so, absolutely, and yes, and I will definitely follow up with you to get those items.
Like tomorrow?
Like this evening.
Okay, yes, please. Okay.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be an ongoing effort. It's not one and done. We want to make sure that we can support our students and families throughout the year. So, again, thank you.
Thank you.
The district also put out a press release because we needed to make sure that people understood we appreciate and thank them for all the work, all the donations, all their efforts, and also to share and let them know that they are welcome to join us. So, yeah, again, all our bases are covered. I'm so excited about tomorrow morning, 8:30. Board's going to be there. Absolutely. It's going to be a good opportunity just to shake hands and thank the donors, and thank community, and thank citizens.
Mrs. Mallory and her staff have worked very diligently to ensure that the school is ready. We're ready to go when the media arrives, and so I just want to thank you publicly, Mrs. Mallory, for just being so gracious in supporting that effort and receiving those donations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Mallory. Thank you. Yeah. And given that, I just want to clarify, all the buildings will have book bags, correct?
Yes, ma'am. They have already been dropped off.
And they're already there?
Yes, ma'am.
Same setup, Mr. Howard, or a little different setup?
It's going to be different at the buildings. Westbrook will be the building where the media event is held. All of the other buildings, the principals are going to manage the distribution of book bags.
But the auto dialer message did ensure that parents are aware that a brand-new backpack will be arriving tomorrow evening.
Okay, wonderful. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the red folder, Mr. Howard.
It's the only color I see.
All right. We're going to move down to the treasurer's comment.
I just wanted to bring your attention that your financial reports are at your place, and please peruse them. If you have any questions, let me know.
I think this is,
It's okay.
oh, you can have
just saw
it.
it.
You
No.
can have it. It's just paper.
You remember this? I'm going to read.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Superintendent comments?
Just very briefly, again, I do appreciate the board's trust and faith that they have in me with regards to this position. It's been a whirlwind over the last 2 weeks, but it's not anything that I don't believe, with the help of not just these people, but the people out in the buildings, that we can't handle. I use the word "we" a lot because I believe that this is a team effort. And after the first 4 days, I definitely know it's a team effort. I've been in every building at least twice. My goal is to continue that throughout the school year. I am engaging with the principals on a daily basis. I'm engaging with as many students as I can, and we had, under the circumstances, an outstanding start to the year. We do have a few hiccups. I'm not going to sit here and say that we didn't, but under the circumstances, we had an outstanding start to the year, and without a doubt, the principals in this district picked up whatever slack was there and managed to get this place moving. So I want to say to them, I appreciate them. I appreciate Ms. Minor. I appreciate Mary. They've been there every time I turn around with a question or an answer, basically to make sure that we're covering our bases. So those two ladies have been rocks with regards to support for me. What I've done for the board is I prepared a superintendent's update. I've kind of given you an outline of the first couple of weeks, what I've been doing. I've identified a few things that I want to focus on, and my goal is to try to provide this on a monthly basis. Not try, but to provide it on a monthly basis, along with a calendar of events that are going on in the building. So you are aware as much as possible of things that are going on in the building. So if you want to attend, or if you have some interest or some questions about what's going on, as you can expect, a lot of the stuff right now is some of the athletic things, because those are the things that are already set in stone. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll be working with the principals. On the second to last page, I got a to-do list, and of that to-do list is a list of things that I plan on doing in the next 2 weeks. A lot of the things that I feel we're behind on, but I'm not looking back. I'm running forward. Not walking, but I'm running forward. And I'm definitely trying to get a grasp around a lot of the things that are required of this position, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And then finally, in the folder, after you read all that other stuff, I talked about what our learning focus will be. I'm in the process of trying to get my head wrapped around the instructional components that are prevalent in this district, because if we want to move this district, if this district wants to get itself to a position where we are an instructional force in this region, we've got to get our heads wrapped around what's going on in these classrooms. And I provided just a general guideline of some of the things I've been talking about all throughout the week. I don't know if you get all the emails that I send, but I've been trying to really focus on what a professional learning community is. And I've included a article about that. So if you have some free time, just to peruse yourself. But again, I appreciate every opportunity, all of the support, and I'm looking forward to a great year. And that's probably the longest comment I will ever have.
Thank you. We appreciate the information, and we appreciate.
And I apologize about that last dot, but it's empty because that means I'm thinking.
Okay, it's like 3 dots typically,
right.
Yeah, but that's
thinking.
the thinking dot, all right.
So that's
Yeah.
what that's
Well, this is quite a bit for less than 2 weeks. Yeah, so. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next up, board comments. Mr. Michael Andrews.
Not a whole lot, but I did note everybody seems to be really fired up about the start of school. And just talked with a few staff people that I've run into or have contacted. They've been very positive, and it's off to a really strong start.
Thank you. Mr. Scaris?
I had the privilege to go to all of the schools on the first day, and there was really good energy in all of the schools. I met quite a few first-year teachers who were really excited, and some of them were terrified about teaching, but really good attitudes. And so it was just really nice. And thank you to the board members that came out to our annual bonfire. Appreciate that. Except for Ms. Bowe. Thank you. That's all I got.
Ms. Bozeman?
Looking forward to tomorrow and looking forward to a strong year.
And Vice President Vanessa Jeter Freeman.
Welcome back, everyone, and the buildings I've been in, they're happy faces. My grandson was excited to go back, and teachers were happy to receive him, and We're off to a great year, and thank you in advance for a wonderful year. And we're here to support you for whatever it is you need. And thank you, Mr. Howard. Thank you for all the information at a fingertip.
And lastly, I just want to say welcome back. We are super, super excited. We've had a lot of great kickoffs, even over the summer, the back-to-school bash, and there's so much excitement, not just here in the district, but in the city itself. Parents are excited, students are excited, we're excited. This is going to be an amazing year. I am just cannot wait to see what unfolds as we move forward this year. And Mr. Howard, thank you for the communication. Really appreciate that. Thank you, board. I know you guys have put in a lot of hours and a lot of days this month, and I really, truly appreciate each and every one of you. With tomorrow's a big day. It's a big day for the district. It's a big day for kids. Tomorrow's a big day for kids, and it's a big day for the parents, and we are just, again, another win for Trotwood. Lastly, also, I want to say, we do have our survey results. Thank you, Ms. Bozeman. And we will be sharing those with the district. Currently, it just has to be in a format that is easy to interpret. So we are getting that done right now using graphs, building specific, and then overall district specific, so that we can share that information with each and every one of you. And we want to just thank everybody who participated, that are here, and even those that are not here. Thank you so much for your support. With that said, I now need a motion to go into executive session for the purposes authorized under the Board of Education Policy 0166 and ORC 121.22 to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. And item B, to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees considering their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment per ORC 121.22 G4. And action will be taken. Motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Got a motion, I've got a second. Any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Bozeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scares?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes. Motion passes. We will now enter into executive session. The time is 6:33.